So what is it?
I've been following you on YouTube since about January. I'm a big fan of amazing teachers, and there's another amazing teacher in my life who I also follow. They're a well-known entertainer in America called RuPaul. RuPaul talks a lot about love, manifestation, the law of attraction. There is so much similarity between what you put out there and what RuPaul
Channel's
puts
our
out.
website. Yeah.
I wondered if you were aware of RuPaul, if there's a connection, if you have, because, I mean, it's like 80% of the same thing.
So what do you think?
I think yes.
Yeah. But this is the most wonderful thing about it. What difference does it make?
None.
Because when you feel resonance with something, and this is the thing, your inner being is guiding you through the path of least resistance to what you're looking for. And so there are many people that are more likely to find it through that avenue than through this avenue. In other words, there's just less resistance for them. You got to face it, this is weird, right?
So can RuPaul be at times. But yeah, this is a little weirder.
Yeah.
But
we're not offended. We understand degrees of weirdness.
good. I'm very pleased you're not offended.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. That's all I needed. Thank you.
I love you. Just met you about a month ago. A girl.
That bad, huh?
No, this is Joy.
Hell your face. We're just playing. Feels good to find the resonance of who you are, we know. And sometimes there's just an overwhelming feeling of relief as you let resistance go and find that new place. And sometimes you're just not ready to contain the vibrational frequency of who you really are. And so this is the kind of release that indicates that relief, and it's all good.
And I'm still figuring it out, and thank you. And I just wanted to thank you. And
this may not be a good time to tell you you're never going to get it done. But it is helpful to let you know that you can't get it wrong. But you're never going to get it done.
And that's what I got. And thank you. And I want to live again. And I'd been really sad for a long time. It kind of shut down. And
well, pinching yourself off from your source does that. And now you know it isn't necessary. And now you're just in the process of learning some new responses to life. Yeah, it's all good.
And I was going into depressions, but now I just see them as moments of clarity.
Contrast. And really serving you.
Like I said, it's just been a month, and the first week I actually just kind of stayed in bed and found clarity, and that was okay too. And without the judgment, and I'm also in recovery, and you say a lot of awesome things about.
This has been a perfect day for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we know.
And I just wanted to thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I don't.
You're welcome. We want to thank you.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even know how to ask yet. Because I've just been afraid to ask for anything for a long time. And
that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
And that's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just take it a little bit at a time and just keep looking for things that feel better, and don't make a big deal about it, and don't try to explain this to others who know you.
I don't. In fact, I say I don't have words yet.
Because you're just this close to them locking you up. Don't try to explain it.
But since I met you, money keeps coming in the mail, and a gentleman called me that said, "Remember when you loaned me $800 8 years ago? I have the money for you." So it's I love
now
you.
Those are indications of releasing resistance. We said earlier, but we really want to emphasize it for you. 2 ways that you know that you're breaking through into that clear place. One is by manifestations like you're describing, and the other is by the feeling of relief that you are experiencing. And that's it. And don't expect it to be that way every single minute. Sometimes it's going to feel better than others. Sometimes it's not going to feel so good. You've got some remnants, everybody does, of some resistance that's going to sort of well up. Don't freak out and think that you've slipped back, because this is so important for you to know. There is no regression. You will not go back to where you were. You will not go back to where you were. Now you know this. Yeah. Yeah. Enough? Really good. Really good.
What's the deal? I can't turn my brain off from work. Like, it's just pervasive.
Was momentum, is it helpful momentum? Anything that's pervasive is not that helpful, but it's about focus. So what kinds of thoughts do you have? Are they what to do next thoughts, or solution-oriented thoughts, or pushing against thoughts? What kind of thoughts?
I would say they're more pushing against, more resistant.
Well, the deal is then that you've been observing and probably heard plenty from others around. So there's a sort of culture of that is easy to tap into. Because, as we said earlier, most everyone is much more of an observer or a reactor than they are a flower of their own intention. It changes, and it's not so difficult to change it. But that's all that's happening. Sometimes you can improve it right away by, on your way to work each day, doing some deliberate segment intending by acknowledging this is a new day, and while I slept, my momentum did subside, and today, because I care about this, I can get some other momentum going. And then when that deliberate intention and that small amount of focus affects a result, then you're off and running. Then you have found your own power.
Yeah, it's like I'm not getting the other contrast of the goodness of what it is. It's always that negative draining. It's just
well,
draining.
remember that law of attraction causes momentum. Every subject is really two subjects, wanted and absence of it. And you can tell by the way you feel which way you are oriented. So if you've been oriented that way for a while, and people around you have been too, then it's easy to get that momentum going. Someone said to us one day, Abraham, it doesn't feel like I'm thinking my own thoughts. It feels like my thoughts are thinking me. And we said, well, that's what rendezvousing with thoughts feels like. In other words, you don't mean to think those thoughts. You don't want to think those thoughts. You don't even like the way those thoughts feel. But there's momentum. It's sort of like, we've given this analogy for many years, and since we are in San Francisco, we can give it with even more relish. Esther will never forget her first trip here, and looking at those hills and realizing people were driving on them. And so she couldn't believe it. And so we said, imagine being at the top of one of those hills, and you've got your beautiful new car, and you decide that you want to see what would happen if you take it out of gear and you take the parking brake off and you just nudge it ever so slightly from behind. Well, you know what's going to happen. It's going to roll down that hill. So you come to your senses because you know, because you understand those laws of physics about time and space and speed and resistance and momentum. And you step out in front of it just as it's beginning to move, and it bumps up against you, and you stop it, and it was easy. But if you were to let it go and wait at the bottom of the hill for it, not a good thing, because the momentum of it would carry you away. And so, same thing with the thoughts that you're thinking. In other words, there's a lot of momentum, and momentum happens fast when you articulate it to others. So the first order of business is to understand it, and you do. And then the second order of business, what's the deal, you said? The next part of the deal is you just acknowledge, I don't like the way I feel under these conditions. And then you say something like, I want to start some different momentum. And then you could even, if you wanted to, look for some of the positive aspects that are there, because we know there are some of those. So we just have a handful of questions for you, and then we'll offer some specific solutions. So how long have you been there? Long time?
Yes.
And when you first made the decision to go there, where did you come from? In other words, did it look like a big solution, or did it feel like more of the same? Can you remember that far back, how it felt when you first made the decision to be there?
I feel like it's been forever. Like it's been a decision since I first started working.
So now that you are there, do you get to make many decisions on your own? Are you the decider?
I can be the decider, yes.
And so in this framework of sort of discontent and what feels to you like negative emotion, are there any rays of sunshine? Do you like making decisions?
Yes,
Do you think that you're good at this job?
sometimes.
Do you feel any pride or exhilaration in those moments in time when you know you're good and effective?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel that you are someone who needs approval or appreciation from others to feel good, or is your own self-appreciation enough for you?
My self-appreciation is good enough.
Do you like appreciating others?
I do.
Are you in a leadership position where you can appreciate others?
I am.
Have you noticed that your appreciation of them affects the way they feel at all?
Yes.
So all of this tells us that, and this is the thing that we so want you to hear, what you broadcast, therefore, your relationship with your inner being is all about what you're broadcasting, not about what's coming back. So by you telling a different story, you could fix this right away. You could fix this right away. Can you think of anything that this contrast has caused you to specifically put into your vortex? Do you want to be self-employed?
I wouldn't mind being self-employed.
But what does self-employment mean to you? In other words, there's a belief.
It means that I'm my own contributor of whatever I do.
Yes.
Whereas,
And that feels good.
yes.
But what else is it about self-employment that doesn't feel so good to you?
Uncertainty.
Yeah, you're really going to like this because, you see, by dovetailing in with something that you don't like that much, at least the uncertainty isn't a factor because there's a whole lot of momentum going that gives you stability. So what you're trading is stability for happiness. And don't feel bad about it because a whole lot of people do that. So the big question that you bring to this forum is, can I find stability and happiness in the same place? And we want to emphatically shout to you, the only place that stability really is in that happy place. Don't separate them. They are one and the same. This gathering has served you really well today.
Been plenty of tidbits that I've
Yeah.
picked up.
We can feel that you're in a different place as a result of having listened here. And we also want to say to you that as people go, and we know every one of them, and as conversations happen, and we've heard them all, you are not as twirled up in resistance as you think. Instead, your standard for alignment is higher than most. So a little bit of negative emotion goes a long way towards something that you don't want. So give yourself a break and be easier about it. It's time for you to start living happily ever after. It's time for all of you to start living happily ever after. It's time. It's time for you to let yourselves off the hook and stop beating the drum of things not going well and start noticing how much is going well and then give yourselves the credit for that. We've enjoyed this interaction more than any other that has ever come before. It is delicious to co-create with you, and we are exhilarated about what is coming next for you. Most of all, we are happy about the newfound sensitivity, which means in your new awareness, you're going to have stronger guidance, which means you're going to have more choices in every day. Make more decisions in every day about wanting to feel good and watch how well it serves you. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain stubbornly, eternally, and joyfully in your vortex.